Alright, what's up YouTube? We're back at it. We are doing another modification to the truck. Today it's going to be wheel spacers, and as you can see, I already have the front ones on, just because it's going to take a lot more time to do the front, because I had to do a mini NorCal. So NorCal is when you cut and tuck this back corner right here, and I didn't really cut it. I pretty much folded it in. I didn't have too much that I needed to go back. These are 33s, actual full 33s, and they are 12.5 wide, and it's going to be on 2-inch spacer. But I have a 4-inch lift, and I pretty much go full lock right now with barely touching the plastic trim. And before I did this, I couldn't go full lock. I had maybe 3/4 of turn. So now I pretty much have all of my turn. I did not have to do anything at the front. I already have the front valance off. It's not rubbing on the front at all. It passes the bumper. It might rub a little bit on here, which I can actually just drill into it and zip tie it up a little bit if I need to, which I'll figure out later on today. And what I'm doing now is I am working on the back, which is the easier one, but it's going to be the same method. The same method with the back as the front with respect as to putting these on. So I can't stress enough that what you're going to need is a hub-centric wheel spacer, which means this space right here that extends off the actual spacer, it's an extension of the hub itself. So it's creating a space for the hub of your wheel to rest on, instead of resting just on all the weight on the truck, resting on the wheels on these studs, which will shear those studs off. So this hub centric ring, so you get your spacer, you get your hub ring. This hub ring fits in the bore of the wheel, which when you order these, you want to make sure that the hub centric bore size fits your wheel bore size. And that I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but I actually have hub centric rings on my hub for my truck itself. So those will actually fit on the inside of the bore of my spacer. That way they rest perfectly on the hub of the truck, and it's not just on the studs themselves from the truck. So all the weight's even and it's distributed the way it's supposed to be. So what you want to do also is make sure that if you're doing this by yourself, make sure you have your e-brake on. That way you keep this wheel from spinning while you undo these and put them back on. And you want to make sure that you have something bracing on your brake pedal. Some trucks may have some safety feature or whatnot that I'm not aware of, but I do like a little piece of wood or some type of tool. Like right now I have just a tool bracing against the brake. That way it keeps the brake pedal on. Yeah, your brake lights are going to be on the whole time. And no, it's not going to kill my truck battery unless you have a crap truck battery. But that's one of the main things you want to do. Also, you want to make sure that your stud of your truck is not longer than the space of your wheel spacer. Along with that is going to be the lug nut. So the lug nut, once it's on that stud, you don't want it to stick past this space on your wheel spacer, because it's going to throw your wheel off balance and keep it tilted or whatnot, and it's going to make everything a lot worse for you. It's not going to sit properly. So what I have to do for mine is, once I pull one of these studs out, or these lug nuts out, I'll show you. So my lugs are a 19, so using a 4-way 19. To break the lug. I'm keeping the top one tight for now, because if I loosen that one and unloosen these other ones, it's gonna make the wheel wobbly and you're not gonna be able to untighten them easy. It's gonna be more of a pain. Alright, so here's one of my lugs. As you can see, it's pretty tall. It's a 14 by 1.5, which fits the threads of my studs on my truck. But this nub right here, that's just a plastic. Well, it's not really plastic, it's aluminum cap that's on there. What I have to do is, as you can see here, it goes way too far above the top of this spacer for me to use those. Instead of buying new ones, which I mean I could do, I'm going to take the cap off these. You're not going to see these lugs anyway. The cap's on there just to not show the stud. It's not used for anything. The threads only go this far into this lug nut. So that's what I'm going to do for mine, which will make it flush, well, below flush for my spacer. Alright, so I got the wheel off, and now we're going to put the wheel spacer on. And it just slides on. Like I said, as you can see, the hub ring fits perfectly inside the hub bore of the spacer, and this hub ring is going to fit perfectly inside the bore of the wheel. Alright, so what I did with my lugs is I hammered down the aluminum part. Instead of cutting it off, it's going to take way too long to cut it, and it's going to take way too long just to try to hammer it off. I just flattened it down, and this is way far enough past the face of the spacer, and it's still going to fit inside my 19, which that's another big thing to check, just to make sure it fits inside your socket. And when I was trying to find other lugs that'll fit, kind of like this lug here, the main thing I was finding that shorter lugs are a lot fatter, so you can't fit really can't fit anything larger than a 19 inside the space for the lug on these wheel spacers. So that's why I'm taking them and making them flat to fit inside there. But there's no issue with it, it's still a perfectly good lug. Alright, what you want to do is you're going to hand tighten these, just put them on there a little bit. I take my extension off of my my torque wrench, putting another 19 on, and just hand tighten it this way, just to make sure everything's even in a star pattern. Alright, this is going to ensure that the spacer itself is even with the hub itself too. So inside, if I had a lug off still I can show you, but the top of the lug is divoted in because it's going to go into a angled section for the lug to fit into, and once it goes in, it's going to move this spacer around a little bit. You'll see it when you first put the first one in, but you do that, just tighten it to get everything equal, and then you torque them down to spec of what the tire spec would be on to the hub. So I'm going to torque these down to 140 because that's what my truck calls for. Alright, not all these torque wrenches are the same, but my bottom line has a unlock and lock, so I'm going to turn it to unlock, twist it to the 0 hits the 140 line, inside 140, turn it to the lock, and I'm done. So then I'm going to torque Alright, so we got the wheel on. One thing I watch for whenever I take my wheel off and put it back on is, so this one's dual drilled. So for me to recognize the one that I need on the dual drill pattern, which is the 6 lug for Chevy, which is going to be a 5.5, so 6 by 5.5, is the 19 I keep using keeps boring this section out. So I know for sure that's the one I'm looking for. We're going to do it the same way as we did the wheel spacer. I'll have to put one on the top. And you just want these a little bit snug, not really just hand tight, snug. Like I said, there's a little divot. You see how these are pushed upward, kind of like a cone. The space it goes into fits like that, and you want to put these on in a star pattern as well. That way it gets the wheel center and even with those holes in the studs. That way you're not off shaking the wheel at all or anything like that. And it's like 90 something degrees out here, so I'm sweating my butt off. I'm not sure if I got a good angle of torquing the wheel spacer down, but I got torqued to spec for the truck, like I said, to 140. And for the wheel spacer itself, torquing the wheel down onto it, it has its own torque specs, which is kind of odd for the spec it calls for, which some of them call for like 80, which is, I don't trust that at all. Mine calls for 110, but I'm going to do 120 just to make myself feel better, which some people might have a different opinion about that, but glad you guys are watching along with me. But we're going to torque this one down to 120 in the same star pattern as before. So for that, click 120. And a lot of tire places will not put wheel spacers on for you because it's a liability. And I understand why. Some people want the wheel spacers that are cheap, which aren't hub centric and are super unsafe. Which I'm not saying wheel spacers are unsafe. Just some are, ones that aren't hub centric, and I don't want to run those. Some people might feel different about it, but like I said, it's on my truck. I want it to be safe for me and whoever rides in it. Alright, so after that's all done with, we'll put the cap on, we'll do the other side, and then we're going to do a walk around and see how it looks. And then we'll give it a test drive and hear if anything is running, or rubbing, my apologies. And after that, we'll have good stance on the truck. Alright YouTube, so we got all 4 sets of wheel spacers on. As you can see, it's comes out pretty good, gives it a good stance. I don't know how well you can see it from a distance, but it gives it a pretty good look. I don't have a drone, so I'm doing this with a tripod in my hand. But everything went on pretty easy. It took me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That includes the mini NorCal. Like I said, I didn't have to trim anything up here that I know of yet. It hasn't rubbed or anything that I've seen. It does rub a little bit on the carpeted fender well on the front, just a tad bit, but not really. That's a full lock. It rubs a little bit, but it doesn't make any noise. About to go test drive it. The back sits out just as even. Alright, so let's give it a test drive. Alright, so I'm not exactly sure where the GoPro left off at, because it says it's full, then it died after that, and I haven't downloaded all the videos off of it to clear the memory card yet. So where I think I picked up, or left off I should say, is I was saying that it was riding pretty smooth. There was some rubbing whenever I backed out on the front fender, the liner itself, so I might have to trim that a little bit. Also, I just noticed that at full lock I am rubbing a little bit more than I want to, so I need to be more careful when I'm going into certain areas like that. So another thing that I was talking about is some people don't like wheel spacers. They don't think that it's safe, and to an extent they are right for certain ones. So ones that aren't hub-centric, ones that are just cheap eBay ones, you're paying like 20 bucks for one or $40 for a set. Like I mentioned in the video, you want to get the ones that are hub-centric and that fit your wheel bore hub. Also, y'all don't forget that there was going to be a giveaway. It's going to be some Mick Tuning 4-piece rock lights. So don't forget to subscribe, to like, comment below of this video. Let me know you subscribed and that you want to be entered into the drawing for the giveaway. And that giveaway is going to be at 100 subscribers. And let me know what you guys think about wheel spacers. What is your opinion on wheel spacers? Do you run wheel spacers? If you do, are they hub-centric? Are they not hub-centric? Also, what is the tire size you're running with your wheel spacers? Are you running 20 by 10, negative 24? Are you running 20 by 9, negative 14, negative 12, whatever you're doing? Leave a comment letting me know what you're running and why or why not you like wheel spacers, and if you run wheel spacers or hub-centric or non-hub-centric. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Go follow on Instagram. Like, comment pictures there, whatever you want to do. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Don't forget, there is DMs and Instagram. You can ask me in the comments below on the video. Also, big shout out to JW for hitting 20K. I think last night when I checked it, he was like 20K with like 89 more, 90 more on top of that. So big shout out to him. If you're not following him, you guys follow JW. You probably are following JW. Who's not following him? Like I always say, don't forget to come back here, watch the next video, subscribe, like, comment. Go take it easy.